This MFL Marmac Coach Conversation brought to you by Havlicek Trucking, Meyer Auto Service, and Birdnow Chevrolet. We're with head coach Dan Anderson. The 1-0 Bulldogs defeated New Hampton 42-14 in week number 1, and it took 2 days to get it done, but you guys got the job done. How do you keep your team's focus, knowing the fact that you had to play a little bit of the game on Friday night and finishing it up on Saturday?
Yeah, we came out ready to play. Our kids were excited to play on Friday night. We were hoping to get the game in. We knew that we'd have some bad weather rolling in, but we were hoping it would be just rain. But it ended up being kind of like a derecho. The wind was blowing. We ended up having our student bleachers blew across the field, and we had porta potties blowing up against people's vehicles. It was some nasty weather. Well, the kids came ready to play there for that first quarter. We were up 14-0 with 1:20 left when they called the game, and we couldn't continue. And the big part of it was good communication with the kids, just letting them know what was going on. And, the next morning, talking to them early, letting them know what time we were going to play, where we were going to play. And, it was important that we came back, and that's tough for New Hampton. You're starting the game, pretty much starting over, but you're already down 14 points. We had the lead, and I told our kids that, if you've got anything, if you can be fired up, and if there's a time to spend any energy you got, it's to spend it right now, right when we start this game again, and to try to take any thoughts that maybe they'd get back into the game into it, and that's exactly what our kids did. They came out, we got the stop right away. New Hampton did throw a deep ball. They had one play in the whole game over 20 yards. They completed a deep ball to Wemark, and he's a heck of an athlete. And they got down to the red zone, and then we shut them down, and they went 4 and out and turned the ball over on downs. And then we marched 85 yards down the field and scored. And then you could just kind of see some of the energy let out of their, out of those New Hampton kids.
And from an administrative standpoint, from what I understand, it was still up in the air on where you were going to finish that game on Saturday, with what happened to your football field with bleachers being in the middle of it after the storm went through on Friday night. What all went into that conversation Saturday morning, and how'd you ultimately determine that the game would be restarted in Monona?
Yeah, our field, we got between Thursday night, early Friday morning, then Friday night, I think we got 5 inches of rain here. So our field, doesn't drain that well. And we were hoping to be able to play the game on some better conditions. So we did try to contact Luther College and Upper Iowa to see if there's any way we could play on a turf field, just because the field was so wet. And, it just wasn't working out. We had the possibility of maybe playing down at Dyersville Beck when they actually gave us the okay to play on their field, but that's quite a trip for the New Hampton team. So we ended up just saying, we'll wait until a little later in the afternoon, go at 4 o'clock. Our field definitely wasn't in great condition. It's a little beat up, and we hate to beat up your field the first game of the year, but our kids wanted to play. I'm sure those New Hampton boys wanted to play and finish that game. And, we all play in the same conditions. So even though the field was wet, a little sloppy, our kids didn't let it bother them. We're mutters. And I tell you what, our kids came ready to play football.
405 yards on the ground. I know your personality. I know the T-shirts. Numbers like that makes you smile, right?
Sure does. New Hampton's a proud football program, and they, have had a lot of success over the years. And, they pride themselves in being physical and playing great defense. And to put up 405 yards rushing against those guys was just a testament to our offensive line. I mean, those guys like Chauncey Dran and Hunter Meyer and Corbin McElwain and Josh Reichard, freshman Aiden Schulte starting at right tackle for us, and then Corbin's younger brother Cade playing tight end as a sophomore. We've got a lot of experienced guys there, but a lot of those guys aren't seniors. A lot of those guys are juniors, and they're just guys that played last year sophomore. So I tell you what, I was super happy and impressed with our offensive line, the communication they had, how they fired off the ball. The backs ran hard. We had 0 turnovers. We never punted. And when you can do that in a football game, especially week 1, you got to be happy with the results.
And the offensive line was a key part of this next point. But Cullen McShane at 214 yards, 3 touchdowns, also caught 2 passes for 93 yards and that big 84-yard score. That's the 7th straight game that Cullen has gone over 100 yards, and that's a pretty impressive feat. Seemingly, he's picked up where he left off a year ago. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. He's a great athlete. He makes plays Sometimes there's not a hole there. He was stiff arming guys. He was, running people, over. He was, he has good vision. I tell you what, one thing I noticed this year is he was setting up his blockers, and there were times where he had good patience, something that Cutter Anderson used to do, and Cullen, has the total package now. I mean, he has the patience. He knows when to hit the hole full steam, and he knows when to wait for just a second to let those blockers get in front of him, and reads those blocks well. And then he turns on the jets. And he had a couple great cutbacks, for long runs, like a 40-yard touchdown run. And, we were able to get the ball to a lot of different guys. I think we had 8 different guys carry the ball and contributed. Carver playing quarterback, first time ever as a varsity quarterback. I couldn't ask more out of my quarterback. He was a great leader out there. He made good decisions. He knew, when to tuck the ball and run and when to throw it. And he was right on the money. He never got sacked once. The offensive line did an outstanding job of giving him time to throw. And, it was just, I was very impressed with the composure of Carver, and just the offense as a whole. They were a well-oiled machine, and you don't usually see that in week 1.
And of course, you're a coach. You pick out things to work on and things to improve on. And you like doing that from week 1 to week 2, because normally that's when you see the most improvement. What tops that list heading into week number 2?
Right. So, you're exactly right there, Darren. We didn't play perfect by any means. Unless I see 11 guys from New Hampton laying flat on their backs, there's always room for improvement. And that's what I tell our kids. I'm like, we didn't score on every single play. Now, that never happens in a football game, but that's the mentality you have to have if you want to be great. You have to have that mentality that we want to score on every play, and we want to stop New Hampton so they get negative yards or no gain on every single play. And if we don't do that, then we can improve. And that's the mentality of, a champion. And that's what these kids are working for. And so they understand that when we critique them and with Huddle, we were able to send out notes and on plays, and, this is what you did. You stepped wrong with this foot, or you should have waited for this, or you should have had your eyes here, little things like that make the big differences. And, topping the list obviously would be our pad level. I thought that our guys were too high. And, both on our tackling and our blocking, even though we blocked the right people and we moved people and had holes, we need to fire off lower, and we need to make sure we're hitting low. And we did a pretty good job of swarming the ball. We didn't miss too many tackles, but, we're hitting a little high. And you get a big back that's 200 pounds and he's hitting you high, you hit him high, you're going to bounce off. So that was a big part of it. I was really happy with our defensive backs. We did give up 144 yards passing, but, a couple of our DBs were for first-year starters, and they had a tough draw. That Weemark is a heck of a football player as a receiver. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, been a leading receiver for them for a couple of years. And I thought that Bryce Radloff, a sophomore, had the tough chore of trying to, cover that guy for much of the game. And, he got beat one time, and that was it, and they scored. And Weemark did get called once for offensive pass interference because he likes to use his hands. And our kids were playing tough against him, and he had some catches for some yards, but, bend a little bit, but don't break. He had a few catches, but I thought our DBs did a really good job for the first week, especially considering, that we were able to hold them to, I think, 77 total yards of rushing, and their starting tailback. When you're an I team, your tailback gets most of your carries, most of your yards. We held their tailback to 15 yards rushing, and their fullback had 32, and half of that was on the last play of the first half. We put our team in a prevent to make sure they didn't throw it deep, and he ran a fullback dive. He gets 16 yards right up the middle. Besides that, we held them to about 1 or 2 yards average for their running back and fullback per carry. So you got to be very happy with that. But we still got to just tighten up our defense on pass coverage a little bit. But the communication was awesome. The kids were talking, they were excited, and we got to clean up penalties too. We got to understand that our kids in the trenches sometimes it gets kind of nasty down there, and we want our kids to play physical and nasty, but you don't always see all the nastiness that goes on the trenches. It's always the second guy that gets caught if you try to do something to retaliate. And we had 2 personal fouls in the trenches for guys that said something or did something at the end of the whistle, and we can't have that. So I was really upset about that. And the kids know that, we'll have some bulldog reminders in practice with a little extra running, so we keep our mouths shut. And, that's not the way we want to play football. We want to play hard and physical and to the whistle, but, stop at the whistle and don't talk with your mouth. And so, they're kids, they make mistakes sometimes too. And so we'll work on that. But, when it came to X's and O's, we did well.
And this week, you make the trip down Highway 52. You go to Guttenberg to take on Clayton Ridge. What do you expect out of the Eagles this week?
Huge rivalry. It's like Iowa State. There's no love lost. We respect them. They beat us in 2018, 32-29. We've got in the last 2 years, but it's always a bloodbath. It's physical. We see each other. It's the battle for Clayton County. We're about the same size in schools. They got 11 seniors that start on offense. I mean, where do you see that? I mean, you don't even see that in big school ball. I mean, every one of their starters is a senior, and these boys have not only seniors, but they've been playing for years, and they want to beat MFL Marmac, and we want to beat them again. And so it is going to be rough. We're going to have to weather the storm because last year they blitz a lot. They're a very aggressive defense. They come after us. Last year, it took us a little while to get going. They do a lot of double eagle blitzing and blitz both inside backers. They caused, got in the backfield, screwed up some of our plays last year. And once we figured out and changed our blocking assignments, then Cullen had 3 consecutive carries of over 70 yards, and he went for 355 yards and broke our school record in rushing. So, they're going to be gunning to stop Cullen, but we've got other weapons. They put up 58 points in their win last Saturday against Postville. So, they're riding high and they're excited. They expect to win. We expect to win. Our defensive line has got to play like they did against New Hampton and just get after it and cause problems. We're undersized in the D-line, but those guys are so scrappy. Tristan Kane and Mikey Ray, Chauncey Duran, those guys were in the backfield causing all kinds of problems against New Hampton. They have to do the same thing against Clayton Ridge. If we can do that, I think we have a good chance of winning. But, this is it's not just a football game. It's bragging rights. These kids are, see each other in every other sport. And, they're probably on Snapchat together and, they see each other at the Clayton County Fair. These guys, they want the bragging rights. And they don't want someone taunting them the rest of the year. So it is going to be, it's going to be a battle for sure, no matter what.
All right, Coach, congrats on the victory in week number 1. Keep your kids healthy. We wish best of luck here in week number 2.
All right. Thanks, Darren. Appreciate it.
Dan Anderson, head coach of the MFL Marmac Bulldogs.